Morning. It is Tuesday. I think it's the 3rd, if I'm not mistaken, or the 2nd. I don't know, but it's on Tuesday. Along those few days, it's Tuesday. I'm just not sure. I think it's the 2nd, man, because Mabano is the 1st. So it is 3:43 a.m. I woke up at 2, and then I took a bath. Then I when that was done, I came into the kitchen, tidied up, washed the pots that I'm going to need for today. So today we are going to be doing my breakfast, lunch, freezer meal. This is not everyone's cup of tea. This is not, I know I could be tried one day for this Mara. For me, it's time saving and it saves money, because when I do this, I don't get so many requests from Theo to actually want something to eat from outside or take out or whatever, and it saves me time. And even when though I make it for lunch, because I cook dinner, I try to cook dinner every single day except on Saturday, sometimes Friday. But it saves me money, it saves me time. I spend about 3 to 4 days of making it, and then the whole 3 weeks of the month I can focus on other things, of which makes my life easier. And even when we go somewhere and maybe we come back home late, we always have something to grab and eat. We don't spend money unnecessarily. I don't like spending money unnecessarily. I want to be intentional with spending money. If we are going to spend money, it needs to be something that is budgeted for, or it's beyond our control, that there's nothing that we can do about it, especially on food. Guys, food is expensive, electricity is expensive, petrol is expensive. Actually, as long as petrol and oil is expensive, everything else is going to be expensive. I think we know that by now. So I do this, and if you are not into carbohydrates, this is not going to be for you. But if you have small babies at home that go to school, that want lunch after school, or you have a husband, or when are you working, I promise you, this might look like it's a lot of money, but if you sit down and calculate how much money you spend daily on your family, it is nothing. Oh yes, honestly. Mara, we are not the same. We lead different lives. What I might think that it is nothing might be a lot to someone else. So if you don't like what I'm doing, it's okay, but don't drag me for it, because for me it works. And my life can get busy. As much as I'm a housewife, I don't go anywhere a lot of times, but if it can get busy, and weekends are the worst for me, because you try to be with your family at the same time, try to bond with them. So I do this once a month. So I'm going to try and take you guys with me through this process. I don't know if it's going to work. I don't know if it's going to be possible, but the little bits that I'll be able to show you guys, I'm sure you will be able to make out what exactly it is that I'm trying to do, or what I'm doing. So I'll show you a few things that I'm going to use. Not everything, just a few things then we will take it from there. I'm not gonna talk too much on this vlog because as I struggle with space, I use my phone. I struggle with space and it's a challenge, and as I said before, I'm not going to spend money immediately, but I won't talk too much. A lot of things is going to be voiceovers. Again, I'm going to do most of the videos going to be voiceover, and there might be part 1, part 2, part 3. I might overload you guys with videos if I feel like I'm running out of space, so it could get hectic for me a little bit, but we will see how that goes. So this is probably the only time that I'm going to talk to you guys like on camera. The rest of the time I'll do this over. So I hope you enjoy this, and if you do, please subscribe, please like, please share, please hit like, a notification button, comment, be kind. Any reaction from you guys will be appreciated. And I have my ground beef. It's 3 kg. It's like 1 to 3 kg, and I have my burgers, and I have 1 liter of milk that I just defrosted. I want to make waffles. I don't know if I'm going to, but I'm going to make waffles. And I have eggs. My bread flour is in there. I still have granola for the rusks. So I'm not going to talk too much, guys. Let's just get into it and take it from there. The first thing that we are going to be doing is to cook our minced meat. I'm going to pack it down into the same pot, into one pot. It's 3 kg. It's a lot of meat, but I'm going to try and cook it in one pot, and I'm seasoning it with a little bit of salt, and I'm seasoning it with garlic flakes. You can season this with any seasoning that you want, but remember not to overdo it. Onion powder, don't overdo it because you're going to add the eggs and the cheese. Italian herbs and thyme, cumin and coriander. They don't have labels, so I know which one it is. Paprika and yellow salt. I'm not going to put too much of this yellow salt into, or too much seasoning into the beef, because I'm going to be combining this with the eggs and the cheese, and they will both have seasoning. The cheese has salt, and the eggs I'm going to put a little bit of yellow salt as well, so I'm not going to do a lot of seasoning. Here is my 2 onions that I chopped with 2 red chilies, fresh chives, and I also added 3 cloves of garlic, and I am stirring it into the beef. The aim here is to make sure that all the water is absorbed, guys, because this is a filling, it's a burrito filling. We don't want it watery because it will make our flatbread soggy, and that's not what we want. So I keep stirring it to make sure that it doesn't burn at the bottom, but I do give it like 5 minutes in between without stirring. And once that is cooked, once that is done, I'm sorry guys, I'm still coughing. I set it aside to cool it a little bit, and I proceeded into beating 12 eggs. This is the 12 eggs that I'm frying here, and I added a little bit of onion powder, garlic, and sorry, yellow salt. So again, we are going to make sure that the eggs as well are fully cooked. We don't want we don't want them to be soggy, because it's going to be part of the burrito filling. And now I'm going to start cooking my patties. So with the patties, guys, today I'm going to try and make a pie from a croissant. Am I saying it correctly? Croissant or croissant or croissant, however you pronounce it, you understand what I mean. I'm a bit scared or skeptical because the croissant on its own, it's a bread. So this might be too rich, this might be too thick, this might be too heavy. Ooh, guys, it's late at night and I'm doing this and I'm yawning. I'm so sorry. But I'm going to try and do it. I have about 16 patties that I'm going to fry down, and that will be my pastry burger. Here is my ground beef now. It's slightly cold. It's not entirely cold, but it's slightly cold. I just wanted it to be a little bit warm, and I am adding this into, I'm transferring it into a bowl. And the eggs that I cooked earlier, I'm also adding them into a bowl. And then when I was doing this, guys, I realized that my bowl was small, so I also used about 600 gram of grated cheese. I used white cheddar here. I used white cheddar, and I transferred my mixture into a bigger bowl because the one that I was using was small. I wasn't going to be able to stir this comfortably. Once everything was added into a bowl, I now started to combine the two. And then, as you can see, my cheese was melting a little bit, not too much. Then I put it aside to cool. This is 500 gram of butter, real butter. I'm just going to melt it a little bit, not too much, a little bit, just for it to be slightly creamy. And then I'm going to start now. I'm now going to start sieving the flour, the croissant flour. It's going to be I'm going to sieve 16 cups of flours, and with, let me just give you the recipe of this, guys. It's 16 cups of flour, 4 eggs, 20 grams of yeast, 4 teaspoons salt, 1 cup sugar, 200 gram butter that is going to be combined with the dough, 4 cups of milk, 1 cup ice cold water, and 500 gram butter, which is what I am doing now on the bowl. So out of the 16 cups, I took out 3 cups of flour that I added into the 500 gram butter that I just melted, and I am combining the two. There's a name for it, guys, and I'm not going to say the name because I will not be able to pronounce it, and someone will say, no, that's not what it's called, that's not how you pronounce it. But the croissant dough, or should I say batter, it's not a batter, it's a dough. It has 2 parts. It's the butter part and the dough part. Each part has butter. The one that you're going to roll it in onto the dough, it is the 500 gram, and the 200 gram you melt it and you're going to mix it with the the dough. So now, after wiping my surface, I now proceeded into taking a parchment paper or a baking paper and transferred the butter that I just mixed with the 3 cups of flour into it. The aim is to it is to roll it into a triangle that is big enough that you know that you're going to have a space big enough for you to roll your dough to that size. But mine, I divided it into two, guys. I did not do it into, I wasn't rolling it in the same size that the batter was. So the ideal way, the correct way of doing this is to measure it and make sure that the measurements that you get, that you're making on the batter, is going to be the measurement that is going to be, that you'll be able to fold, to put them in the middle of the dough and your dough, and you'll be able to fold it in. It's not an envelope folding, because the envelope folding is the bread one. It's not an envelope folding, but you'll be able to fold it comfortably with the dough. And you can Google the steps of folding the pastry batter into the dough, guys. It's easy. You can get it on Pinterest. You can even get it on YouTube, how to fold it. I'm not going to do it the correct way because, guys, I'm only trying to feed my family. I'm not going to do this the correct way or whatever. I'm cheating. And when you are doing this for your family, it's okay. It doesn't have to be perfect. Once you have rolled it into the size that you are happy with, you can now put it into the fridge and let it chill until the time that you need it. This is the 200-gram butter that I just melted, and I added 4 eggs into it. I let the butter cool, because if it's not cooled, it's going to cook the eggs. So let it cool enough. And I added 1 cup of sugar. You can use brown sugar or white sugar. I prefer using the brown sugar. I use brown sugar in my home. And then I added the 4 cups of milk, but I wasn't adding it all at once. I added it bit by bit. And then I added the rest of the milk. I also added the yeast into there, and I also added the salt. I'm adding it into the flour, and I'm going to mix it with the flour before I add my wet ingredients. So my wet ingredients were eggs, were sugar, were butter, and was milk. The water I added as I was kneading the dough. So I added my wet ingredients into the bowl and started stirring it until I felt that it was well combined. You stir it. You can use your hands, but I know there are other people that would not like to see that type of thing on or when they are watching a video. So if you are at home, you can use your hands, guys. Use your hands. It makes it easier for you to be able to know what is it that you need. So I added my iced water, or you can just use cold water from the tap. And then as I was adding, I realized that it was not enough, and I also added a little bit with the dough, guys, because we are using different flours. You can only use your eyes, your eyes and your hand, to see how it feels. I think around about this time I had already added 2 cups of water, and the other one was ice cold, and the other one was just normal cold water. And I now floured my surface heavily and transferred the dough onto the surface. Now we start working. We start kneading. The correct, if you are not making a lot of flour, the correct time will be like 7 minutes, 5 to 7 minutes of kneading the flour. But this is a lot of flour. This is 13 cups, because 3 cups is with the butter in the fridge. It's 13 cups, guys. I was supposed to knead it for at least 15 to 20 minutes, but I did not need it for the time that I was supposed to need it. I just did until I think 8 minutes or so. So how do you know that it's ready? When it is no longer sticking onto your hands and on the surface, and you can do a test dough. A test dough is when you take a piece from the dough and you start stretching it to the maximum level. If it tears, that means it's not ready. You continue kneading until it does not tear anymore. But I didn't do that. I'm cheating today, guys, on a lot of things because I want to finish. I have a lot of things that I want to do. As you can see, though I kept going off the camera, I'm sorry, guys. I'm new to this thing and I'm sure in time I'll get used to it. But if you look at my dough correctly, it is smooth, but it is not completely smooth. But I was okay with how it is. I was okay with how I did it. It didn't matter. And then I put it into a container and let it rest. So now I proceeded into making my rolls dough, and it is my rolls dough. It is 8 cups of bread flour, 8 cups of cake flour, 8 tablespoons sugar, 2 teaspoons salt, 20 gram yeast or 2 packet yeast, half a cup olive oil, and 750 ml to start. And you're going to now add until you see. On this one, I think I use 1.2 to 1.3 mils of water, lukewarm water. One thing that I also came across that I didn't like, guys, I think I got about 16 cups of flour from the 2.5 of bread flour, and I was used to getting 20 cups. Ne? Now I got 16 cups. I don't know if I'm losing my mind or something, but guys, I did not get the 20 cups that I'm supposed to get from the 2.5, and I don't know, is that not a robbing game for the company or something? Because 16 cups, guys. Pela, 1 cup of flour is supposed to be 125 gram. So how is it then that I got 16 cups? I don't get it. Oh, am I crazy? Maybe that's how I'm para. Maybe I'm not counting my things well. So I added the dry ingredients together, everything together. There's a correct method of doing it, of doing the yeast on the side, letting it rise, and then adding the dry ingredients and I didn't do that. I added all the dry ingredients into a bowl and added my half a cup of olive oil and start adding my water. I was adding my water as per how I see my dough. This is look, see, feel, and do. I don't know how else to say it, but that's how it is. So this is how I did it, and it turns out well, guys. It doesn't, there's nothing to it. It turned out well, and I was happy with how it turned out. And I transferred the dough into the surface again. I did not show you the step where I was kneading it because it is the same way, the same way that I did with the pastry, the croissant dough. But this one was slightly softer because it's for the rolls. I wanted it softer. It was slightly sticky, and it turned out the way I wanted it. So now we were starting on dough number 3. Dough number 3 was for my ciabatta loaves. It is the same recipe as the rose one. 8 cups of cake flour, 8 cups of bread flour, 8 tablespoons sugar, 2 teaspoons salt, 2 packet yeast or 20 gram yeast, half a cup olive oil. And because I wanted this one a little bit wet, I used 1.5 mils of lukewarm water, and I used the same method. Dry ingredients first, mix them together, and then open a well in the middle, and then I added my half a cup of olive oil, and I proceeded into adding my lukewarm water into that well. First I started with the 1 liter I started adding the 1 liter into the bowl, and then the rest of the 500 mils I was adding it bit by bit. I did it in that way, and this is a dough that I am not going to knead, guys. It's a ciabatta bread. I'm not saying you should not knead it. Oh, sorry. I'm sorry, guys. I chose not to knead it, and I did not knead it. So I just added my ingredients, my water, proceeded to mixing it. If you look at it correctly, it's very wet, and that's how I want it. This is the same if you make dumpling or magwinya at home. It's the same texture. The same texture. It's different from when you making bread. Well, the way I make my dumpling or magwinya, this is how I make it. It is a wet, sticky dough, and that's how I wanted it. That's how I make my ciabatta. There's a correct way of making it as well, guys, of making a starter before, a night before, and the following day you proceed into making your dough. And there's also the sourdough method, the way you would be using your bicha and all of that. Those are long methods. I use the shortcuts, the one that you cannot use in the bakery, but I use it for me when I cook for my family. And that's the texture that you are looking for when you are making the ciabatta that I'm making. It should resemble the way it is. And wipe the side a little bit, because this one we are not going to transfer it from the bowl to the surface and be able to clean the bowl. No, we are going to use the same bowl, and I will cover it with a dishcloth and set it aside for it to rise, and I'll punch it down 3 times before. So now I was measuring the waffles, guys. It was 3 eggs, 2¼ cup flour, 1½ teaspoon baking powder, 3/4 teaspoon baking soda, 1½ teaspoon cinnamon, 3/4 cup cornstarch, 1/4 teaspoon nutmeg, 1½ teaspoon salt, 3 tablespoon sugar, 1½ teaspoon vanilla, 18 teaspoon oil, and 3 cups of milk. This is my first time of knocking down the rolls dough, and we are going to knock it down this way 3 times. I've got olive oil on my hands to make sure that it does not stick, and because it won't stick that much, because at the same time I did put olive oil
onto the container before I put the container in, before I put the dough in. And now I'm going to set it aside and let it rest and let it double in size again. This was the second time, ne? When it was like this, and this is the first time of the ciabatta bread, because it's not really mixed well. The gluten has not developed in a way that I wanted it to develop, so I'm going to punch it down as well. This one is tricky because it's very, very, very sticky. You need to use water on your hands or a lot of oil, olive oil. When you're making ciabatta, you should aim for olive. You should always use olive oil, because the other oil is going to be, it turns out as if you've put butter in it. So I'm using olive oil to punch it down. I'm going to do this to it 2 more times before I can start baking it, because before I can feel that it's okay. So now this was after second and third of beating the rolls dough down. So I transferred it into a lightly floured surface, and then I also lightly floured the dough and the knife and all of that. I don't have a scraper, guys. I don't have a scraper, so I was using a knife. I'm using a knife when I cut my rolls into what I want it to be. So I use my eyes, I use my hands to feel the size that I want. I mostly get the sizes to be the same, but you know, nothing is ever perfect in life. Sometimes I get the small ones. So what I do is that I will fill 2 pans with rolls, and then once that is done, once I've rolled 2 pans, then I will then switch on my oven, and then while I do that, I let the rolls sit there and prove for at least 30 to 45 minutes. Once that is done, then I put it in an oven, 1 pan at a time. Then I'll proceed to do a third one, and the other rolls I will roll it and leave them on the counter for them to prove. And that's what I did. I baked them at 180 degrees for 25 minutes to 30 minutes, actually from 20 to 30 minutes. It all depends on your oven, guys. It depends on your oven. We use different kinds of oven. So once they have set on the counter for 30 minutes, I brush them with egg wash. You can use milk if you don't like the taste of egg on your rolls. I don't mind the egg wash. I brush them with egg wash before I put them into the oven. And once that is done, I will start now with the third pan that I will be filling. And once that is I've put enough rolls in it, then I will roll the rest of the rolls and leave them on the counter. So as I'm taking the other ones, I'll be putting the other ones in the new pans, and they would have now had an opportunity or enough time to prove, and they'll be in a size or doubled in size when that happens. once that was done, I now went and started on the burrito. It was after lunch. You guys can see that I I removed my apron and I forgot to put it on. It was after lunch and I started doing my burrito. This month I wanted a bit more burritos, and I also wanted large ones. So I went to that store, guys, where they sell vruchten and groente. Not gonna say it by the name, fruit and veg. And guys, I was not happy with the wraps or the flatbreads, or what do we call them? Is it roti? It's not roti though. I'll check what is written on their packs. Guys, they were breaking. I was trying to save money, but I think 5 of them were like completely broken, that I could not salvage them, because it didn't, I don't mind them breaking a little bit because I cover them with wax paper, but they were like broken, like wide open. And this is something, these are the things that my husband and my son takes to work and school, and I need them to be in perfect shape or decent shape. And to have to deal with the fact that 5 of them was breaking, and yet I tried to save money and went to buy these ones from them, only for them to break. I was not happy. I was not happy at all, and I'll never ever again say I'm trying to save money and buy from them. And they were a bit salty, guys. Salty. They were slightly salty. So you can imagine, my beef is salted, my eggs is salted, my cheese is salted, and the flatbread is salted as well. It tastes okay, it's good, but the palate is out of my taste buds. But it's okay, we can eat it, it's still delicious, but I don't like that much salt into my food. And I wasn't happy with the breads, guys. I'm not going to lie to you, I was not happy at all. But what can you do? I'm the one who said I wanted to save money, and I went there. So I will never try to save money unless I am quite sure, or definitely sure, that what I'm saving money with, it is worth it. Because this one, it was not worth it, guys. It was not worth it at all. So I've learned my lessons. I've learned my lesson. So I floured my surface now, and my ciabatta dough was ready. Oh my god, guys, I'm a horrible singer, but we love things, rather be pop. So the ciabatta bread, guys, you handle it with care. You put it on a baking sheet that has a baking paper that is lightly salted, and then you put your gently shaped dough onto it, and leave it to rest for 30 minutes to 45 minutes. Score it if you want it, and then you bake it at 180 degrees for 30 minutes to 35 minutes. It will depend on you. I use a toothpick or a skewer to check how it is. So this one is my pastry dough. This is how it looks, and I'm going to divide it into 2 and proceed into rolling it. I'll be rolling the batter and the dough together for the batter to be able to be incorporated into the dough. Guys, you don't have to do this. You do not have to do this. Rolling the pastry is not nice. Your biceps will be getting some workout, but your hands, that's another story, ne? It is another story. So you can buy your puff pastry, but because I love things, or I love experimenting, or I love seeing what I can get if I do 1, 2, 3, I'm choosing to do it this way. But you can buy pastry from the store. You don't have to do this. I do this because I want to, and I want to get more out of my dough. But this is not something that you should do. This is not something that you must do. And if you're running a business, I would rather you outsource this, or you buy a KitchenAid. KitchenAid has a component. One of the components there is of pasta. Use that to do this, because using your hands to do this, it's a lot. It is a lot, it's time consuming, it's hard work, but I am not complaining. I love doing this. I love seeing what I can do with flour. I'm obsessed with what I can do with flour, because guys, flour can give you variety of things. So again guys, even here the folding method is not how I'm supposed to fold it, but I'm cheating. It's okay. I'm only trying to feed my family, so I'm cheating. You can look this up on Google or Pinterest or YouTube on how you supposed to fold your pastry dough or your puff pastry when you are making it from home. It's not how I am doing it now. You can do this way, it's okay, it's still okay, but it's not the correct way of doing it. This is me just not following procedure. But if you are starting out, I think you need to know how to fold it correctly. You need to know how to fold the dough. These are my rolls when they come out of the oven. They are not perfect, but they are perfect for me. I love them. I made them and they taste really good. So I was happy with the outcome. I was happy with how they turned out. I loved how they looked. So now we are moving on to wrapping up our burrito. I'm wrapping them individually and I'm going to put them in a pan. Then I'm going to flash freeze them in batches so that I don't overload my freezer, and so that they don't stick. I'm sorry guys, it's if I told you guys what time it is, you won't believe me. It's 12 midnight. Yep, it is. So I am wrapping the burritos and I am going to flash freeze them, and then once that is done, then I'll start staking them. The other shelf I'll be flash freezing them. The other shelf I'll be staking them into one another. So this is what I'm doing at this moment. It was late. I think it was about 5 p.m. now when I was doing this. Oh yeah, something like that. And I wasn't cooking dinner on this day. I did not even want to see the stove. I was busy dealing with the oven. So now this is the last time. I've already folded the dough and chilled it in the fridge for about 3 times now. So now I was cutting it so that I can put my patties inside, and then applying the egg wash on the side to make sure that I can close them correctly together. And I'm only putting patty on 3 because I've cut 6 again. And then I'm putting a little bit of cheese on top, and then I put the other side on top. This one was long, including that other one. They were very long, so I cut them a little bit and I start closing them off with the fork, and then I let them chill in a fridge to stop the fermentation, to stop them from fermenting, because I didn't want them to ferment before I was ready to bake them. And because they have yeast, it's not they have pastry that this is not the dough where there's no yeast, there's nothing and all of that. So this is part of the remaining of the dough that I was cutting, the offcuts, and I'm going to make mini croissant. I don't want to throw the dough, so I'm always trying to find ways to make something with the leftover dough if I was using it. So I'm going to use the leftover dough and make croissant, and the other I divided the dough into 3 parts. The other 1/3 I'm using it for the croissant, and the other 2 of the of 3 parts I'm going to use it for my pop-outs. I don't know if I'm saying them correctly. I'm going to use it for my pop-out. I'm horrible, guys. I'm sorry. I'm tired. I'm really tired. I just came back from Limpopo. I got home at about 9:30, and I actually did a you know, this vlogging things, guys. I salute you guys that are vlogging. I salute you guys that are posting videos every day. If you don't have an editor or a team or whatever, you're doing everything yourself, I salute you guys. You guys are strong, and I respect you, because it's a lot of work. Because I had a video that I had already done everything, the music, the voiceovers and all of that, but I cannot save it on my phone for me to be able to upload it on YouTube, because my phone keeps saying space. Yo, I'm tired. So now I had to redo this. I'm going to divide this in 3 parts, because that one was 1 hour 18 minutes, and I had another one for 20 minutes. So now I have to divide them. So this is now me doing the pop-outs base. I'm using the same dough that I was making the croissant with. I'm using that on the muffin pan. I have sprayed the pan with the oil, and then not the oil, the cooking spray. Then I started pressing the dough onto the muffin pan, and I wasn't making them perfect. I didn't use a cookie cutter like I did last time. I was cutting them by hand. I was making them rough. I was just doing what I could, because at this point, guys, I was very tired. I was very hungry. If you guys could see me, if I had a proper tripod, I could show you guys. I was walking barefooted. I was wearing a gown. It was cold, but the way my feet were so painful, I was walking barefooted, because I had been up from 2 a.m. and I think around about this time it was around 8 p.m. and I was tired. So I was working against time to make sure that I was doing what I set out to do today, because like I said, it's a lot of food that I want to make, that I want to freeze, and today there's a couple of things that I wanted to do, and I want to make sure that I will be able to do that. And when I was here, guys, I could see the light at the end of the tunnel that it was happening. So I had a little bit of burrito filling that was still left, and I was putting that into my pop out, and I had beaten the eggs on the side, and I was adding a spoonful on the pop out. I was using a soup spoon, and I was just adding one because I didn't want them to drip onto the oven. But hey, another pan, I asked someone to help me, and I didn't use the burrito fillings. I used the spinach. Ooh, Jehovah, if you saw how it came about. So now I'm making French toast. The reason I make French toast is because it is the cheapest way of having bread and eggs without actually breaking the bank. Because if you make bread and eggs, for the people that I live with, every one of them wants to have 4 eggs with bread. So with French toast, you are able to make sure that both of them, they can have as many slices as they want, because the toast already has eggs. So I was making 2.5 loaves of bread into fresh toast, and I was going to flash freeze them individually before I put them back into their original plastic bags. I've removed the other pan, guys, because it was giving me problems. It was burning my toast, so I'm using these two to make my toast. And I was almost done here, almost done. And I was proud, guys. Whenever I do this, I cannot stop being proud of myself. And this one, I just made waffles. This is my first waffles ever since I was born. I don't know how long I've had this pan, but I've always used it as a toast.